a lot of people are going to run to some of these categories, whether it be longevity, GLP-1s, obviously because of the financial opportunity that it holds. It's gold rush. With any gold rush comes good things and come some really bad things. We're seeing, of course, venture capital money. There's a tidal wave of investment innovation coming on here.
This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Longevity isn't new, but the way we approach it is evolving fast. A tidal wave of investment and innovation is reshaping the space, with consumers demanding solutions that go beyond fitness to help them optimize health, performance, and aging. Today's guest, Jeff Zwiefel, Executive Director of MIORA Longevity and Performance at Life Time, dives into what's happening right now in the longevity space, what's driving demand, where the industry is falling short, and how fitness businesses can adapt to stay ahead. On the episode, we'll unpack the new longevity consumer, what they want and how expectations are shifting, how biomarker-driven programs and comprehensive health assessments are changing the game, the rise of GLP-1 medications and why they continue to be popular, the industry debates around them, and how Lifetime has been integrating them responsibly, and how fitness businesses can own the longevity conversation and build trust in an increasingly medicalized space. Jeff brings over 30 years of industry experience and a deep understanding of where fitness, wellness, and longevity intersect. Before we get to the episode, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcasts weekly featuring industry thought leaders and influencers. I'm your host, Krissy Vann, and this is ATFW. At time of recording, we are right on the heels of one of the biggest events of the year, the Health and Fitness Association, gathering everyone together for a couple of days in Vegas of learning and seeing the latest innovations. And Jeff, that's why I'm so happy to have you here, because you have really been such an integral thought leader when it comes to longevity, especially bringing the MIORA clinics to life through Lifetime. So thank you so much for carving out the time and space.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Love the health and fitness and wellness industry, and such exciting time for the longevity category as well.
We're in real-time evolution here, and we're actually on the heels of a big announcement for you because it's now the second clinic that is opening under your wing. So tell me a little bit about this expansion and what it says about the demand for these types of services within the broader fitness industry.
Yeah, thank you, Krissy. Appreciate that. I think we're all seeing this tremendous sort of mainstreaming adoption of the consumer desiring the simple fact that they want to look better, feel better, and perform better. I think that, no longer is our member or the consumer satisfied with the traditional break fix model or treatment of disease. They want to understand at the root cause what's happening in their body and how they can live an optimal life. And I think, it's probably become already overused, but of course the idea of living longer, better, the health span that we continue to talk about, and I know you and I have had great dialogue about, but there's this really exciting multidimensional convergence that's of course happening in front of our eyes in the industry, from fitness and recovery to precision medicine. And you think about the medi-spas and the fusion of the blurring that's happening with this, but what it does create for the consumer is generally also the need for education and empowerment. They're seeking the ability to sort through all this misinformation and malpractice and pseudoscience and find trusted, respected sources that they can, rely on to, again, work on their overall wellness.
In this instance, because anytime you're in business and you're entertaining an expansion, and especially the fact that this was a new category for Lifetime entering, and there's so many new things happening within said category. So I'm curious, what type of conversations or biggest learnings from opening the first clinic then translated into this expansion of, hey, we're actually going to execute in a different fashion because we've had some learnings here?
It's a great question, Krissy. And let me just make sure we provide your listeners with a little bit of context so that they kind of understand the background of it. Lifetime over a decade ago started a really aggressive journey to position itself as a healthy life company, not as a health club or a gym. And we dropped the name fitness 10 years ago intentionally to again ensure that our brand and our messaging to the consumers is that we want to help them, whether it's 90 days or 90 years old, whether that's sports, recreation, social, kids, anti-aging, whatever it might be. We want to be able to be there for their solutions. So that's always been our journey, and that's brought us to the launch of MIORA about 18 months ago, and tremendous amount of learnings, as you said, of course. And as you can appreciate, for us, it really needed to be a program and a service that was accretive or additive to the mothership brand of Lifetime. And it had to have the ability to continue to lend itself as improving the brand reputation of what Lifetime is all about. And, whenever we enter a new business initiative, we ask the simple question, what's our right to win? And our right to win has simply been that we have the real estate. We have opportunities within our 17.2 million square feet across 180 clubs to probably better utilize some of that real estate in a more productive way. We have an affluent, highly educated customer that's very committed and interested in investing in their own health and longevity. Our 95% of our members, when we surveyed them, 400,000 of them, said that they're interested in improving their own wellness, of course, but 50% of them said they weren't interested in doing that through a traditional healthcare system. So they're looking for, great alternatives for those answers. So our learnings have been immense, right? We had a maniacal focus on the customer experience and the customer journey. It needed to be, elegant and frictionless and seamless. It needed to be simple to understand. And so we've spent, a significant amount of time, many might say more than needed, but we wanted to be able to make longevity and the concept that spans a lot of different things in people's mind when you say it, of course, but accessible and actionable. Make sure that, with all these folks hearing about biohacking and, in encountering different recovery and rejuvenation options, how are we going to democratize longevity? You think about a $610 billion global longevity category. It's immense. For us, 68% of affluent consumers are clearly saying they're willing to spend more on comprehensive, wellness facilities. And so we've constantly been under this desire to create one-stop shop solutions for our customers. So, of course, that means for the customer, they don't have to go anywhere else. It's convenient. It's easy and simple for them. It's already a trusted and reliable source for them. For us, of course, as a business, it provides incremental revenue streams for us that we didn't have before. It provides more revenue per membership that we weren't gaining before, and share of wallet. It provides more revenue per square foot of our clubs, which is an important metric for us. So the space utilization efficiency that we constantly look at in our clubs so that we maximize the usage of the really expensive facilities and rent.
Yeah, I kind of have two questions branching off of that. First being, for those that aren't familiar, because obviously there's so much discussion and there will be this year at HFA about pricing. And for yourselves, you're in a luxury category. So to your point, you know who your target audience are. They are on that more affluent side. But how does the pricing structure work? Are people buying a package of services?
Yeah.
Maybe explain how and why you decided to do it that way.
Yeah, it's a great question. We've been a subscription model with no contracts since the inception of Lifetime in 1992. We've always felt very strongly about making sure that, the experience day to day that we commit to deliver to our member is paramount. And they should never be locked into that at any time. So we basically applied the same methodology that has been tried, true, and tested for our business model very successfully, over the 32 years. And we created a subscription model that stacks right on top of your club membership. As you said, our customers aren't shopping for price, they're shopping for experience. And they're looking for that premium experience from end to end. And so we created this comprehensive and integrated sort of health and personalized health optimization called MIORA, that basically you go through a very elaborate and extensive blood biomarker test. We've got a platinum, we've got a gold, and we've got a silver. That's somewhere between $400 and $800. And you'll get through somewhere between 100 and 250 biomarkers in that process. So, gut, liver, kidney, thyroid, stress, you'll look at hormones, everything. And again, just by contrast for your listeners, you go to your normal primary care doc and you might get 12 to 20 different biomarkers. So you don't really get a deep look inside what's happening and where the issues are. So what we do after we take that information, and then we sit you down with our medical practitioner, either an NP, nurse practitioner, or one of our MDs, and they go through an hour consultation with the blood work. It feeds into what we have as a proprietary algorithm called the metabolic code. It separates your blood work into 5 triads. So that can allow us to really simplify the story with so many of these blood markers into what is the hierarchy and where are you furthest away from optimal. And so that's where we want to start. So we combine, Krissy, both this really extensive symptomology report that we have you do. How are you feeling? How are you sleeping? How are you recovering from exercise? All these kinds of things, coupled with the blood work into this metabolic code. And that's where we start developing the program. We assign a virtual personal trainer to them, a registered dietitian, and then we retest every 3 to 6 months to see if we're moving the needle on these critical biomarkers that ultimately come to light and manifest themselves in a way that people are feeling better, they're looking better, they're performing better.
Yeah, well, it makes them so engaged with the process as well. At the end of the day, even the basic consumer is starved for information. They want to know more. That's why so many people are misled, because they go down the social media rabbit hole of a biohacker and sometimes end up into a world of trouble. So if you have the means and having that evidence-based information, it would be so motivating. But one thing, and this is the second part of what you said that I was so curious, because to your point, longevity, we hear this word endlessly now, but when MIORA came to life, it really dominated headlines because you decided to take on GLP-1s. And obviously at the time it was so new and people were nervous or excited, and there was this mix of emotions. I'm curious, as you've now forayed into the space, longevity, what are the most in-demand services? Because GLP-1, yes, has dominated the conversation, but it's not the only thing happening here.
Yeah. I mean, you and I had this discussion early on in this journey, and you're right, it seems like a very long time ago, with all that we've learned and how far we've come with this and how far the category and rapidly it's progressed, to your point. And like you mentioned, all of us being in the health and fitness industry as long as we've been, I was extremely skeptical like everyone else until we really started digging into the research and seeing the profound impact that this drug was having, not just on weight loss, but so many other far-reaching implications for chronic disease, right? And of course, because of the interrelationship between obesity and cancer and diabetes and Alzheimer's and heart disease, as we all know it. And so I think, the key thing that sticks out for me for GLP-1s, and then I'll answer, your second question, I think, is what we had saw with the data from Harrison Company, but PricewaterhouseCooper recently validated as well, with 38% of, weight loss drug users saying that, they're exercising for the first time. 16% are signing up for a personal trainer now. So we're seeing a customer that we've never seen before. That's the great thing. The key for us now is how do we handle that ingestion? How do we ensure that they're getting the right results? And I think a lot of consumers don't recognize that GLP-1s are, peptide. And, peptides are explosive in growth in longevity. And there's been a lot of controversy about peptides. The FDA recently banned a number of them 6 months ago. And so, I think there will be remarkable continual growth and expansion with this new administration around the category of peptides. And so, I would say that GLP-1s have been extremely popular for us because, as we can appreciate, we have a weight loss epidemic, and our members, like the general public, are heavily invested in their weight loss journeys. And I think what's so key for us in the industry is we have this really profound opportunity to take control of the narrative of this drug and ensure that my biggest fear, and probably yours as well, Krissy, being in the industry so long, is that this doesn't get, misrepresented. We all know that we hold the keys to how this drug needs to be done the right way through exercise, particularly resistance training, proper nutrition and protein intake and hydration, and the whole array of behavioral modification that needs to happen so that ultimately we hope that we can get the consumer off this drug and live a normal life as well. Recently, just in the news, we saw the new threats that the compounding pharmacies were going to be banned from making the off-label semaglutide. And, now this morning I see the releases of Ozempic, both with Eli and Novo, basically offering a $4.99 a month subscription compared to their $13.99 monthly of before. So again, the supply and demand curve is creating all kinds of interesting implications for this drug, that has just been a massive megatrend. And I think will continue to, because there's no denying the fact that the innovation is going to continue to advance in this drug, and the implications for its impact on the health of the consumer, from chewables to how frequently potentially you have to inject and all these other kinds of things. So, but hopefully we can steer and take the lead as the health and fitness industry on making sure that we're receiving the customer from the practitioner way that we're the turnkey solution.
I know that you've been on so many panels as well on this subject matter, and it's because being in this role, it's made you a subject matter expert. There were so many companies that I'm sure have thought of dabbling, and it's how do we approach this? To your point, we are in charge of the narrative. And when you are in charge of something like that, there's a great responsibility here because there's also real life health implications that are happening simultaneously. I'm curious from your colleagues in the fitness industry, because I know it ends up a debate a lot of the times. What are some of the points that people bring up where they maybe challenge what you're trying to do there? And what's your response to those?
I think that's right. I mean, and you're going to get that whenever you're stepping out and trying to do something that is ultimately innovative, right? There's no doubt about that. And that's accepted. And we're accustomed to that because, we love making sure that we follow the science first and foremost, and where there's good, valid research, but at the same time, not just doing the same thing, because ultimately, to your point, I think as health and fitness and wellness profession, we have a responsibility to be a solution for our customers on how to achieve these objectives. Let's be super clear. What we've been doing previously simply is not working.
Mhm.
And, with, less than 25% as health club members, how, and the stats obviously in obesity that we all know, and being overweight. So, we clearly need to continue to transform and take different approaches to this category. And I think it's multidimensional. It's just not one thing. And I think it's really important that our colleagues, to your question, understand the perspective that it's not a quick fix magic bullet from our viewpoint. It is a comprehensive, holistic solution that's driven by a medical provider first and foremost. And it is done in combination with extensive blood biomarkers to truly understand the biology and the chemistry of the body, because you do create significant risk and challenge the ability to have long-term sustainable success if you're not looking at it in that way. So I think it's really important to understand the context, and many times it's easy to take that out of character.
Yeah, without question. Well, and I think it's because there's been some players trying to get into the arena that haven't armed themselves with
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying there.
Are
You're
bad
saying
actors as we all know them. Yes. Yes.
exactly. And so that complicates the equation even further when you're in a category, to your point, that's evolving, changing in so much time. We're still learning about how this medication works, different bodies reacting in different ways. To your point about chewables and all the different press releases that come out about innovations in the pharma space of what this will look like. And at the end of the day, obviously, I know the obesity epidemic, important to be addressed. It's a huge component when it comes to chronic disease. But at the same time, the magic pill, so to speak, has been discovered in a way. And at the end of the day, there is an audience and a demographic that is seeking that and is going to utilize that. And so we are well positioned to be in that space to take that population on a journey that can be as health forward as possible. Muscle loss being the biggest one that we know, and we're a natural destination. So how you've structured this does make so much sense. And it's just interesting when it comes to GLP-1s. What do you feel is going to dominate the conversations through the rest of 2025? Because no longer it's this new thing, should we, shouldn't we? It's happening now in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's multidimensional. I think it's going to continue to evaluate um, the far-reaching implications for this drug. We're now obviously starting to be able to gather more longitudinal data on the far-reaching implications, ranging from osteoarthritis to sleep apnea to Alzheimer's, and where, this drug can impact. That I really think looking at, the effect of trying to understand, as we all know, there's no question that any traditional weight loss program, you have a significant amount of muscle loss, and you become challenged with muscle preservation, and sarcopenia. The more rapid that weight loss happens, right? I'm an exercise physiologist by trade, so this has been my world for 40 years. And this drug, of course, with its far-reaching implications from appetite suppression and how it affects brain and mood, and it clearly is extremely effective in that regard. I think what we're seeing, of course, Krissy, to your point, is the adoption from the consumer that it was originally intended for was a type 2 diabetic, of course, and then approved for weight loss, and for people in the 30 plus BMI reference range. But now we're seeing, of course, people using it for aesthetic reasons that, have 5, 10, 15 pounds to lose. And we're seeing Hollywood adapt that really early, of course. But, you are seeing Ozempic face and Ozempic butt, and how are people, gonna make sure that they offset this thing. And that's just gonna come from, I think that one of the core issues is really difficult to make sure that people get the right caloric intake and the right composition of macronutrients, i.e. protein. And it becomes a real challenge for folks. I'm hearing, a lot of people eat once a day. Well, how are you getting the adequate amounts of protein and ensuring that you're fueling, the proper training program that you might need? So I think there's just going to be more and more of the validation and tying back to those elements in the upcoming year, because, and then of course, as we talked about, the advancements in the product itself, which will make it, I just think, much more accessible, because of course, an oral product will be so much more available to people than injections of a needle. So, and I think the frequency right now of once a week, it's still challenging. You're hearing a lot, and I think you'll continue to hear in 2025 and beyond. What about all this microdosing? What is all that about, right? How do I use this product in a way that, may not have, of course, the severe side effects of nausea, diarrhea, and constipation. And that's the way in our protocol we use it anyway. We microdose up to get the member client to achieve a desired weight loss, and we microdose down and try to remove the product ultimately. So it's going to be a really interesting future in GLP-1s for sure. There's no denying it.
Yeah, it's fascinating, as they say, to see an industry learning a fresh space in real time. As everyone, I mean, it's not just the fitness industry that was trying to brand themselves into the space either, but for this industry in particular, you can't think of a better destination or a better pairing, because at the end of the day, the opportunities, if done right, to up your revenue stream is exponential. And at the same time, you're providing the appropriate guidance that I just feel is so necessary if somebody is embarking on that journey. I know that we're heading into HFA, which again is such a launch pad of all the conversations that are going to dominate throughout the year. And we started this off saying how longevity, yeah, it is a huge buzzword at this point in time. You are always traveling and at the forefront of the conversation. So I'm curious, again, with that look ahead, what are some of the innovations that are coming down the pipeline that haven't quite entered the mainstream conversation yet?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, the context that I, want to share, a lot of people are going to run to some of these categories, whether it be longevity, whether it be GLP-1s, obviously because of the financial opportunity that it holds. It's gold rush, as I say. And, with any gold rush comes good things and come some really bad things. We're seeing, of course, venture capital money. There's a tidal wave of investment innovation coming on here. And so I think, for Lifetime, we've been doing blood testing for our members for a very long time, food allergies. We've had our own line of nutritional supplements that I started in 2000. And that's a massive part of our business now. So an important part of providing trusted, respected solutions to our members through Lifetime Health. And we've also been doing VO2 max testing and, selling heart rate monitors for 20 years now. So I just encourage everybody to make sure that they, within their brand and their organization, they think about the right progression of how they move into some of these categories in a thoughtful way to protect, themselves from liability and risk, but also to make sure the brand continues to be represented in the best way for their members and the consumer. And so I think, to your question, I think there's going to be a lot more, of course, as we see the growth of AI and data and personalization coming into play. I think the ability to be much more predictive relative to the success that we're seeing in correlating these program designs with nutrition and supplementation and pharmacological products with the particular issue that the consumer is facing. So I think that flywheel of connecting the dots between, those protocols is going to become stronger and stronger. So I think health optimization with AI, I think the biological age testing, people want to know, we want to know, hey, I'm at the biological age of a 38-year-old and I'm 60. And yeah, I want to fight that. I think products like Senolytics, I think epigenetic testing is going to continue to be strong. I think these advancements in GLP-1s and the innovation and the application, I think there's going to be continued growth there. I think, just more and more coming in, genetic testing and the ability of how do we slow or reverse the aging process ultimately? Who doesn't want to find the key to that, right? So I think it's a really exciting time, but the great thing, as you know, Krissy, as we've been talking about throughout this discussion, is that the health and fitness and wellness industry has the opportunity and the responsibility to rise above this and continue to position itself as the trusted, respected source for the member on how to ensure that they are doing this the right way. Because, you look at the rapid advancement, right, of the centralization. We're hearing, obviously, the well-known folks like Atia. What does he talk about? In effect, which we say muscle is, the currency of aging, right? Grip strength, right? Let's understand grip strength. How many, body weight squats can you do? Strength and muscle are key. VO2 max, the other key predictor of how long you'll live. But most clubs aren't measuring VO2 max. And, we've been doing it for a very long time. There's going to be continued rapid progression of things like NAD testing, like gut microbiomes is becoming so connected to everything we do in life. Brain taps, food allergies, blood capillary testing, because we're seeing now, to your question earlier, 29-year-olds start their longevity journey. This isn't just for 55-year-old plus. So they're starting that journey early on than ever before, not just for aesthetic, skin and beauty reasons, hair and nails. They're looking for it because they're having anxiety, stress, bad sleep, right? And I think sleep will, as we know, continue to be the centerpiece. I've got an 8-sleep mattress. I look at my sleep numbers every night along with my ultrahuman ring and compare my HRV. So again, I think the access of the wearables and the data of the consumer are going to continue to move them into wanting to learn more and find resources to take those kinds of actions. And then you couple that, Krissy, with the accessibility of all these recovery and rejuvenation platforms of red light, hot, cold therapy, hyperbaric chambers, which we have all in our MIORA locations. It's people want to know how they can do these things. And again, one of the myths I think that we get into that I want to clarify is just you can't have an expectation that one of these things are going to be your one-stop, quick fix solution. And as operators, we all have the ability to make sure that we establish the solid foundation of a healthy, active lifestyle. Because anybody that's worth their weight in salt in the longevity space will really pronounce the reality that without the foundation of great, cardiovascular exercise, resistance training, right sleep, right nutrition, anything else you start stacking on top as a sexy, cool, methylene blue or whatever it might be, isn't going to do you much good.
Without question. Although that's often what people end up trying to grab first because
Yes,
people want the shortcut, but it's ineffective. And so it is our job to educate people. Obviously, Lifetime has been an innovator in the space and it is a luxury category. With the evolution of technology moving as quickly as it is, do you feel as though I kind of want to use Botox as an example because I feel like not that long ago, it was kind of this luxurious, only celebrities do it if you go back 2
right.
decades. And then now it's
Becoming
a 20-year-old
mainstream.
skincare routine. It's
Right,
mainstream, it's
right.
affordable, it's accessible. Do you feel that we'll see the same thing happen in the longevity category? Because right now, these services are, for the most part, a premium service for that client that has a little bit more affluence to be able to integrate.
I do, Krissy. I'm uh, hopeful and uh, optimistic that ultimately it'll become so mainstream that we'll be talking about it in 5 to 10 years, just like we're talking about a club membership today. And I didn't say it, but that our monthly subscription to MIORA is $2.99 a month on top of your regular membership, and that gives you access to that MD, PT, RD services on an ongoing basis. And of course, you get member only pricing on peptides, on hormones, on supplements, IV therapies, and you get access to the full suite of recovery and rejuvenation services. So, again, those rejuvenation recovery services will vary based on the footprint and the floor plan of the respective club that we go into. But our goal is to have 100 of these as a hub and spoke across our 180 clubs in the U.S. to serve our members. We've got 100,000 memberships in our Chicago market. This second one opening in Evanston will be a great hub and spoke for us to service that market because ultimately, Krissy, as you can appreciate, the success and longevity will be those that can combine an omni-channel digital and physical experience.
Mhm.
Because one of our rights to win going back earlier was we have 1.5 million customers, that 100,000 customers coming through the door of each club per month. So we have that member. We don't have to pay the CAC cost of a typical digital. The other reality is we're at an all-time lowest attrition rate we've ever had as a company. Better connectivity, better usage of our clubs, and a program like MIORA creates even, to your point, Krissy, tighter connective tissue with that customer that they would never leave when they have a trusted, respected practitioner that's guiding them through this journey. And so I also know that the typical digital providers in the longevity category have monthly attrition rates in the 6-7% by contrast. So you need the community, right? You need the support. And we believe the combination of physical and digital is the best, probably immersive, personalized way to crack this code.
Well, you kind of led into my curiosity that I wanted to wrap up over the fact that you've figured out the formula, it's effective. You have people that are demanding this service. One of the things I really appreciate that you highlighted was what position your customer is in. They are not satisfied with the healthcare that is available through the regular system. Similarly, I'm joining you from Canada, and I know that our healthcare system is something that years ago we would pride ourselves on. We don't get a bill at the end of the day. Well, there's been a tremendous shift. Unfortunately, it takes a long time to learn, even when you're aware of a problem, to move through the system. And so people are wanting to take that power back and put it in their hands and move forward. And you as a company have now offered the space and moving forward. So with that plan for expansion, can we expect a few more this year popping up? How quickly are you trying to move through this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And certainly we'd like to move as fast as possible, but most importantly, to my comment earlier, we want to do it right. As you can appreciate, casting or hiring, as some people call it, we call it casting,
Love that.
the right practitioner that is well versed in the Lifetime MIORA protocols and the work with our Chief Science Officer, James Laval, in making sure that they have the right understanding of this category and the approach that we need to take. I mean, I think that we'll move as fast as appropriate, but the dictation of it will be that we will always make sure we do it right. It's what, has kept me so crazy enthusiastic about the Lifetime brand is if we're going to do something, we are going to do it right. We're not perfect and we've made a ton of mistakes as an organization, but that's, what innovative companies do. They learn from them and they fix them and address them very rapidly. And that's what we're going to be continuing to do here, because as you know, the consumer is going to continue to evolve really fast. The industry, research, and science is going to continue to evolve. And we've got to continue to watch those very closely and align that with where we think the business opportunity is, of course. Our focus, number one, is the brand, the halo effect of the mothership brand Lifetime. If we think about that and the customer experience as our number one priority, the financials, the EBITDA, the returns will all take care of themselves. We believe that. But we have a really phenomenal ecosystem at Lifetime. It's complex as well, because if anybody that's been in our clubs, we have 100 to 200,000 square feet clubs. It costs $100+ million to build. And we have, kids programmings and swim program, and we have our own healthy eating called our Life Cafe. We have our life spas, and we have medi spas, and we have a recovery business, our personal training. We do dynamic stretching. So you think about how MIORA makes sure that it fits in that member ecosystem, so it's a seamless and frictionless experience for our member. And that's super important for how we insert things. But you think about how Lifetime is adapting. I mean, we just made the decision to convert 100 of our hot tubs or jacuzzis across our club portfolio. Those cost $100,000 each to convert to cold plunges. But that's just an indication of how important and fast our consumer demand is shifting. And we know as a premium provider, we have to continue to meet those needs. And it's inclusive of our membership pricing, right? We don't charge extra for that, but that's, $10 million investment, just like that.
Yeah. But you're meeting the customers where they're at, what they want. And at the end of the day, it's exactly what you said about a healthy living journey. You cannot build it on a shoddy foundation. And so much the same, it's what you're doing with your business. Jeff, I so appreciate your insights and expertise. You're such a thought leader in this sector. And to your point, and in our discussion today, longevity is just changing so rapidly. The GLP-1 space is changing so rapidly. So I really appreciate you offering your time. And I look forward to learning from you throughout the year.
Thank you, Krissy. It's a pleasure being with you today. I'll see you at HFA.
You've just listened to the All Things Fitness and Wellness podcast, hosted by Krissy Vann. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly featuring industry insiders and influencers. Together, we're on a mission for everyone to live a life fit and well.